So I'd go ahead and break it up into two different videos in case anybody wants to jump to this part. But again, the critical thing, my opinion, though, here is that a meter is a little bit over 3 feet, the same way a yard is a little bit over 3 feet. And that will help you to know your distances on these maps. You can see back here that the C flag is showing up at less than 100 meters. So this is less than a football field's distance away. And my critical point here is that there seems to be a total trend in the online shooter communities that they aren't going to tell anybody anything. And I have to say that part of that is because so many people are blatantly cheating. In the PC environment, they are using hacks they basically light up and show rectangles with players' statistics and names across the map. You can target specific people. They show, you have zero recoil. You have lock-on, head or body lock-on. All of these things are completely possible in the PC community. People claim they're not possible in the last generation of consoles. My understanding was that they were, that there were hacked consoles and USB-based dongle tools that allow that to happen. I think they do. It doesn't take but a second to go back into the Xbox 360 back-compatible games to find just every lobby filled with hackers. You try to jump and it launches you into the air. They can target you through walls across the map with instant kills. It's ridiculous. But that said, part of the mentality of that, and unfortunately to say with the Call of Duty community especially, is that when you keep in mind that people are doing that and they're cheating and they just want to put other people down and they're getting kicks out of it, the general tendency of everybody is that nobody is telling anybody anything unless they have something to profit for it. And you see these videos out where people are like, oh, new magic gun, instant, it's like wall hacks, this thing's incredible, mega kill, 100 kill game with OP, this and that, and it's like every gun. Well, whatever. Who knows what they're doing as far as reverse boosting. And I was saying something a minute ago about hacks, where like Zim and Chronos Max and Strike Packs, Chronos Max is more advanced than ever, and it was already advanced 5 years ago. It's probably advanced longer than that. I just had one from 5 years ago. It has an easy cheat button now where you just tap it and it removes like every drop of recoil basically from a gun. So whatever. Keeping in mind all of that, they aren't telling anybody anything. Well, the problem with that is that this is not rocket science, and people are trying to play these games, and there's no instruction booklet. You don't go into a football game and say, oh, I don't know what the rules are. I'm going to run around like a chicken with my head cut off, and I'll occasionally shoot somebody, and then I'll get shot 3 times in the back because we're running around like crash test dummies. It's just complete idiocy. It's asinine. It's just garbage. The thing is that the lowest quality games of Team Deathmatch that have the highest probability of just asinine crash test dummy idiocy are still made even worse by the fact that it's supposed to be a team deathmatch. The people play virtually every single mode in these games like they're free-for-all because they're comless, they're just skillless, they don't care. The ones that do have skills are just out for themselves because they don't feel like dealing with it. And it basically makes it pretty much worthless. Team Deathmatch is not supposed to be free-for-all. People play Team Deathmatch like it is free-for-all with friendly fire off. Meaning they just run around like it's just them and are happy that they can't accidentally kill a teammate. Well, that has nothing to do with true team deathmatch. The reason that has nothing to do with team deathmatch is because these games were originally rooted in actual military training. They actually had people in the military who they talked to who were in the military. There is still Call of Duty Army sponsorship. I mean, it's ridiculous. The games have a 17 plus ESRB rating and are not intended to be played like jackass 9 idiots, but they are, and they do create environments and things that are conducive to that constantly. That makes it like it's a game for 5-year-olds. So Call of Duty themselves, each of these studios needs to ask themselves, what are they doing? Because cashing in on 11-year-olds is not the same thing as creating a respectable product for 18 to 35-year-olds. And part of that is a simple game of team deathmatch. So here is my point. In a simple game of team deathmatch, this is the smallest, to my knowledge, non-face-off map in the game. It's less than a football field. When you go into game time, you don't sit there and go, oh, I don't know where the end zones are. I don't know what the goal is. There are different ways to play it, and it depends on the teammates. But the general premise, this is a fundamental groundwork for all respawns in the game. Your team spawns on one side, the other team spawns on the other. Your goal is to be the first to reach a certain number of kills in the game, and ideally, you want to do that for personal benefit to be the highest score person on the board. The problem with that is that the barometer of skill in these games has always been streaks and nuclear streaks. If you cannot maintain a decent score per minute while doing a large-scale streak or nuke streak, you are not any good. A person could sit here and hide in 15 corners and get a gunship. That's not considered good because it's just so cat and mousey in a high-speed game. It's this whole issue of camping. In the military, you're going to camp all day. The problem is in these games with these time limits that nobody feels like doing all the stuff you're supposed to do. The stuff you're supposed to do is when you spawn, you're supposed to look back here, clear out the spawns. You're supposed to check around. You're supposed to check each of these doors. You might need to slide past something. You're supposed to clear out and take control of an area. All of Call of Duty, all of military combat, all of Battlefield is about geographic sector control. Period. That is the last thing that happens in the standard public match of Call of Duty. They check nothing. They just run blindly and get gunned down over and over like crash test dummies. Well, whatever. It just reaches a point of asinineness that is incomprehensible. But the point being, one team spawns on one side, the other on the other side, and people are averse to the camping issue, even though it's a perfectly normal thing to do to lie here and do this, because they're just wanting to run around and not have to do all that. They just want to get in head-on combat. Well, that's great, whatever. There's a difference between head-on combat and asinine frickin' kamikaze frickin' stupidity. But anyway, this map is less than size football. Surely, if anyone can figure out the dynamics of respawns, they could do it on a map the size of a football field. Well, guess what? That's the last thing you see with anybody. So here's the point. In a standard game of team deathmatch, when you see your mini-map up there, it doesn't matter where the map's there once you know the knowledge there, but I'm pointing to it as visual aid. When you see this, there is a 50-yard line. It's not exactly 50 yards. This map is smaller than a football field in general. But there's a rough 50% line that's right in here on either side. Pending the game, pending the mode, there is roughly a 66% to 75% cutoff line. What happens is that all of the respawns are based on population density and their location on the map. Depending on the specific game, not even just Call of Duty, but here Call of Duty, sometimes that is based on line of sight. For example, on Nuketown, with this very small map, if I stand right here and the people get crazy in positions all over the map, it will directly allow people to spawn right back behind me if my back is turned. If I'm turned this way, it does not usually do that, but it will. If I am standing right here under extreme circumstances, and I think it's based on the number of people in the wave respawn, if they have 2 or more people spontaneously respawning back here, it pops them right out. And they just pop up in the middle of the air right there. It does the same thing on the other side of the map. More so than either of those two, this being most unlikely, this being more likely. The much more likely one is that if you camp either side of the map back here, the enemies will directly spawn on the other side. Now, flashback to my last video. With an SMG versus 3 enemies having to hit 6 shots at this range, complete garbage. You can take an AK, an LMG, or a DMR and sit here and just blast an entire team out of the spawn. You take an SMG, even the max range Bullfrog, boom, 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 boom. It's all over the place. The bullets are there. The people are shooting. You're getting flinch. You're dead. Absolute garbage. Shortest range in the entire map. The AK-74U is okay, but it cannot in any sense compete with a standard AK's damage, an M16, a DMR, Type 63, any of the LMGs. You can just literally take an LMG and mow an entire team down twice here, whereas an SMG, you're lucky to get 2 kills, if even. So, the thing with the yard lines is this 50 to this 50, 60, this 50, 66, 75 general region. This is where your primary spawn flips happen. And with some of the modes, because of the shifting hard points and the domination flags and other things, they sometimes give weight to a point in and of itself, depending on also whether it's captured or not. And what that means is that if you hold a flag and your team pushes up to this rough 66-75% line, and your team leaves the back vacant with nobody back there, and they all push up to here. In certain games and certain modes and certain years, they would allow that flag to essentially act as an anchor for the team so that nobody would spawn back there and you could all push up. This year, to my knowledge, that never happens. If your team, for example, if this was your spawn and you own it, and the enemy team is over here, and you trap them in, and your team all pushes up to about this line, I'm not sure about the value of B over here without testing it, but when you get up to this line, if the majority of your team has crossed the 50% line and pushing up here, it does not care about the flag back there. It starts dumping them right in back there. And that is the primary game-specific issue that messes everything up, at least as far as I know, is that what happens is that if your entire team is over here and theirs over there, there is normally no question whatsoever. When one player crosses over to about here and you're still anchored back that way, there's no question. But when you start pushing up into here and nobody is in the back area or in the house, and in this one in Nuketown now, I don't think it even matters if your house. Once people start to push up over here, if there's nobody standing in the back lot, it starts to flip them. There have been other games, Call of Duty World War II, for example, where when you got up to here, your entire team could push up to here and trap them in at the back in the ice corner on the snow map and just start gunning them down. And so each year they tinker with it a little bit, and basically a lot of it they did. Infinite Warfare had advanced spawn traps. But what they've done is they've attempted to get people out of being trapped in to give them a chance, but it's a fine line because as soon as you do that, you have no control of the map. You work for all this time to get control of the map and push them in and squeeze them, and then they just start popping out behind you. So the question really is, what's the squeeze point? How many people have to be, where do you have to anchor? That's called anchoring. There's also clearing, and then there's pushing and squeezing. And nobody I know uses the word squeezing, but that's what it is. You're essentially squeezing them. At a certain squeeze point, they start popping out the other side. I really don't want to be rude, but I've heard some big-time people say stuff like, oh, this guy just sat at the back in the flag, and I asked him, I said, why do you just sit on the flag? He said, well, I'm holding the flag. What an idiot. What a dummy. What a bot. That's like one of the few smart things you will ever see in a Call of Duty game. If your objective is to hold flags and win something, your objective is to hold flags and win something. When you know that these spawns are going insane and that people are getting shot in the back 15 times a second, you don't sit there and take part in that. You hold a flag. It's just so absurd. The general, a brief side note. The entire issue is epitomized by the devil card in Tarot. It is a head-on goat, head-on rams, testing horns. When you go into a boxing match, you don't see an opponent, the match doesn't start and you go right into a corner and go, oh, I'm going to wait here. And then, oh, I'm going to juke them out. Oh, they're in the back of the head. Ooh. There's a reason for that. That's because you're engaging in head-on conflict. A full-on test of balls and horns is engaging head-on contact. That means you see this guy, you go, you don't sit there and pussy out on it. But the problem is that in real-life reality, in a real military situation where your life is on the line and you have a purpose, you do the tactical thing to do. That means if you have no idea how many people are rushing here, it is perfectly acceptable to go over here, wait it out, check the doors, see where your teammates are, move to cover, do what you need to do, which is the entire point of military training. Get in here and do this stuff. 99% of what you see in any Call of Duty lobby that is sponsored by the U.S. Army is completely contradictory at the uttermost stupid level of what you're supposed to do. So, I mean, it's fine. If you want to engage in head-on, that's great. You can be Rambo, but you can't be stupid Rambo. Be a smart Rambo. It's just absurd. And if you need to hold a flag. Because otherwise your people are going to randomly get shot in the back. So, whatever. When you play Team Deathmatch, there are essentially 3 ways to play it. One is to hold the spawns. Back to clearing a spawn. Anchoring a spawn is simple. Anchoring a spawn means one person stands back here and does this. At least for a little while. Clearing a spawn means that when you randomly spawn somewhere like over here, because everything's a mess, you don't just run out in the middle like a dummy, like a human pincushion. You estimate based on where the people are, where your teammates are, since you can't see your enemies without a UAV, where your teammates are. You see where the nearest possible clearing spot is, which is back here. You immediately check it out, you clear it out, knowing that they can still spawn over here. You clear out this spot, you make sure both are clear, you establish it, and then you move forward. That's clearing the spawn. You've ever seen anchoring the spawn and clearing the spawn. When you have your spawns established, and you have clear approximation that no enemies are on this side of the map, because your team is all positioned around here, you push. This is the definition of pushing. You push it up, you get it up to the 66% mark. The entire point at this point is, how far do we push? And can we trap? If you can trap, you trap, because that wins it and it gets the points. Unless you just don't want to trap them. But if you push and it flips, you have to be prepared for it to flip. And each map and mode are going to be a slightly different push point. If you can squeeze them in and kill them, go for it. At this point, if you do not know, and of course this is with random public lobbies, and you have to size it up by what people are doing and whether you're in communication. At this point, you are on the 60-yard line. You are attempting to get the touchdown. Well, what's the touchdown? The ultimate touchdown is to trap them in and gun them down repeatedly till you have 150 kills. Since that is not possible due to spawn protection, the question here is how long can you sustain this? Is it going to flip? Or do we just push and flip? Pushing and flipping is essentially flipping the seesaw. If your team is combined and coordinated, what you do at this point is knowing that it's going to potentially flip. Either one, somebody has to go and do the anchoring at the back and get ready for the gun down on the respawns, which is what these people are doing. When you go into a lobby and you're getting gunned down on spawn, that's what they're doing. They have essentially anchored. I mean, if they're decent at all, what they've essentially done is they've anchored the spawn, they forced the flip, and they're killing you out of spawn. If one person stands back there on that side and we continue to push up here, that is what that will allow us to do. We can then gun people down on both sides of the map. Now, if once you push back here and you flip it, and you anchor both spawns, that will potentially squeeze them into the middle. It will squeeze them over to these side points to the side. And you have then control of the map. That is map control. The issue with Nuketown is that because of this bipolar thing here on the back lots, they will still spawn in on the other side. So if you anchor the back, you have to be prepared to gun them down on either side of the back lots, or you have to go up here and gun them down from the vantage point. Once they are out of options, depending on the respawn logic on the game, they are either going to go ahead and pop right out, which they will sometimes do on either side, or they're going to spawn in these middle areas. I am not versed. I don't have an exact map of all the possible spawn locations. There are people who do chart this stuff, but if you really want to do it for yourself, the thing to do is on any of these games, set up a spectator mode in a bot lobby and watch the map. Watch what the bots do. Watch where the people respawn. I brought it up before. There's a thing called a revolving mean front line. What that means, and it to my knowledge, it worked better on more equiangular square maps. They've polarized everything so that it's more extreme towards the poles on spawns. That being the two end zones. On the Infinite Warfare, it had lots of square-type maps, square or circle, where it was equal radius, equal angles, equal distance. And in those, that revolving mean front line was a fairly clear rule, meaning that it took the team's position on the map, looked at the area they had the most control over, averaged out a mean front line of their position across their maximum control point, and then if any enemies or players perturbed that, it balanced them out by their distance from that line. You would have to see that to know what I mean. It's really not that complicated. But without getting into that, this is this is really the whole point. Don't worry about a revolving mean front line if you don't know what that is, or you can't figure it out, or you just don't care. The point is that this is not rocket science. It is a football field. Football has more complicated rules than this dumb map. When you go to push, you're fine up to here, you're getting iffy here, you're really about to flip it here. You either have to anchor, or you have to, as a coordinated effort, go ahead and flip the seesaw and move in. As you flip it, depending on your control and position, at least on this map, they can still spawn over here. There are certain line of sight rules And if you can control both of the maps and anchor both spawns, you're going to get a mix of those side areas, but everybody in general is going to be pushed to the middle. And that is having the map control. You can use that on any of the modes. The thing is that with domination, the flags no longer in this game hold much weight. The people, at least to my knowledge, it does not act as an additional teammate holding the spawn back here. The people spawn right in on it if you squeeze them. Team deathmatch, same rules. Kill confirm, same rules. Domination, same rules. The larger maps, all basically the same rules. The combined arms do not have a whole lot of weight. Control is the one that doesn't want to normally flip the spawns. It will give extra weight just to the fact that it was spawn and let them spawn in right on top of you if you push back. So if you violate spawn, you typically get punished. Hardpoint or headquarters on Modern Warfare are the oddballs. And the thing is, there's a simple rule to those too. When your hardpoint moves, if your hardpoint is back on this side of the map, there is one goal that you need to have. That is to establish map control on the shortest side of the map relative to the hardpoint. Now, you can potentially try to squeeze them in if a hard point spawns back here and the enemy team is all spawning back here. You can push back here and attempt to squeeze them relative to it. But what is going to happen the vast majority of the time is some of them are going to spawn back here. As soon as you turn around, some of them are going to end up fluke spawning back here. And it's called unpredictable. You just aren't going to know. If you want to have control, what you have to do is when the hard point comes back here, you have to move, clear out this area, take control over this, and force their spawns to the other side of the hard point. That gives you the short, under control area of the map. And you do that with any side. For example, on this first hard point spawn on Nuketown, it goes here. Not all the games do that. This one's predictable. It always goes here. At least to my knowledge, it always goes here. When this goes here, it is at the 50% line. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever that anybody needs to be flipping spawns and going over here. The entire basis of control and holding this hard point in this vulnerable location is to keep your side of the map. And when these people push up and go here, it will typically hold it. But as soon as they start going here, it's going to flip. So there's no reason to do that. You hold your half of the map. You hold your point. You gun them down on their side. As soon as somebody goes over here and you're busy in a fight and they flip it, you're getting shot in the back. The entire point is not to get shot in the back. This is the point where people are just so dumb. Because they're oblivious to the fact that the very things that they do when they're the enemy, they don't prepare for when they're them. So if they can't figure it out, whatever, I'm not explaining it to them other than this dumb video. When the hard point then rotates, if the hard point goes back there, and you have control of this side of the map, you can prepare by taking it over. If you have a free agent roamer, he can already, as soon as you get that next point, be preparing to push over and us take over this small side of the map. You then take it over, you clear it out, you wall it down, and you start gunning them down on the other 75% of the map because you've taken control of it. Same thing, every single mode. I don't know, unless I've forgotten something. The point is that this is not difficult stuff. This is not the tie rules in the U.S. Open finals. This is not the complex foul rules on the football game. This is less than a football field with a very simple set of guidelines. 50, 66, 75, anchors, clearing, spawns, map control. If anybody wants to win in domination, all you have to do is have one teammate camp one flag, the other teammate camp the other flag, anchor the spawns, kill the flukes, and squeeze them to the middle. It's not rocket science. Okay, that's enough for me. I got to get off here.